Today I'm going to be sharing with you 9 tips on creating a vision board that is actually visually interesting and appealing to the eye, as well as one that works. I'm really big into vision boards being almost like a lifestyle you want to create versus actual physical things you want to obtain, but we'll get into that later. So let's start with tip number 1, which is to get cozy. This is not something you want to do in a rush. It is not a 10-minute craft. It is something that's going to probably take you a minimum of 45 minutes. So get cozy, you know, have your little jammies on, do it on a lazy Sunday morning, have a cup of coffee, tea, light a candle, whatever you want to do, but you're going to be sitting there for a minute. Tip number 2 is to decide the format that works best for you. So you can do a digital vision board where you could create like a background for your computer or your phone screen, or you could do a physical vision board, which is my personal preference. I'm just a tactile girly, like I just want to be able to touch it. I just feel like there's something to be said about actually creating it with your hands, but that's just me. The next tip is to figure out where you're going to put your vision board. So this is more so for the physical vision boards, because one, you got to figure out how big or how small to create it depending on where you're going to place it, but you definitely want it to be in a location that you're going to see every day. I think that is a huge part of being successful with accomplishing this life that you were wanting to create one day, is seeing it every day as a reminder. Number 4 is to gather all your materials and supplies. So maybe some scissors, glue, pens, pencils, markers, all the things, and poster board, again, if you are doing it the physical way. But I really want to stress to just use whatever you have available. So this year, this is what my vision board looks like, but I just used the back of last year's and it was double the size. So I actually kind of condensed it down this year, but honey, reduce, reuse, recycle. So just use whatever you have. If you only have like a computer piece of paper, just do that. If you don't even have access to a printer, I would still recommend like researching ideas of what to do and then maybe just hand drawing the images or words that you want to put on your board. Definitely don't let supplies limit you from creating this vision for yourself. The next step is to use Pinterest or Google to search for images that you would maybe want to put on your vision board. I think it's important to not rush this process because it can take longer than maybe you anticipated on really finding something that, you know, speaks to you, or knowing what to type in, especially if you don't necessarily have goals for this upcoming year or maybe even a vision. And so you're kind of just starting from ground zero of like, okay, where do I want to be in the next few years? You know what I mean? So this might be the first time you're really having to think about that. So don't rush the process, but there's definitely lots of good things. If you are starting from ground zero, just look at Pinterest like lifestyle content, and that can kind of help steer you in at least one direction to get you started. So tip number 6 is what I think is the most important one in making something visually appealing, is we want variety. We want to use a variety of colors. We want to use a variety of sizes. So not just printing off some images that are all the same size. We want like bigger pictures, smaller pictures, something in between that can create that visual interest. And then also using words or quotes that you could write out or again print off. I like using Canva for that and just putting it all on one document and then printing it off, as well as Canva has, you know, some fancier fonts that you could use to make pretty. Obviously you could do it in a Google Doc as well. Canva is just my personal choice. But then also using both real life images and then also using clip art. I think clip art is so underrated, but I love using the two together. I just feel like it does a little something whenever you're looking at it. It's just interesting to look at, you know? Tip number 7 is to honestly be really open to what speaks to you whenever you're looking at these images. You might come across something that you weren't necessarily searching for, but it's like you can't take your eyes off it. Like you're intrigued by it some way, somehow. I think that's one you should definitely save. And a tip for the Pinterest, if you are doing it on Pinterest, is just to create a new board, save all those images in that place, and then, you know, print them off or put them in Canva. And the next step or tip, number 8, is to really make it your own. So anyone can cut out some pictures, glue them on a page, make a collage, and call it a day. Like, we've seen most people's vision boards and what they look like, but I do think it's kind of what sets yours apart is just taking the time to add some color, maybe in your own handwriting, you're writing stuff in or drawing stuff, and not only layering pieces, like I layered this word on top of this photo, but also utilizing white space. I think vision boards tend to lean very cluttered, and if that works for you, that works for you. Like, it's your board, do you. But I do love good white space in a little bit more of an organized manner. But yeah, just really take the time to make it your own, going the extra mile, adding the extra step of having some creative freedom with it, if you will. And our last step, or tip number 9, is to analyze your vision board once it's already done and completed, and figure out where your goals need to come from. So sometimes, again, we go into the year being like, I don't really know what I'm after this year, but sometimes we can put it into pictures and really draw inspiration from that. And that will kind of help narrow down what your focus is, because you've already done it in images. Now it's just putting it into words, which is sometimes the more difficult part. But if you are interested in seeing my vision board and just me covering it more in depth of what it means to me, what are the things that are on it, and what I'm wanting to do with it this next year, just click this video right here where I explain and go through my vision board for 2024.